But if you have another question, feel free to raise your hand, introduce yourself, and ask. All right?
Thank you.
Round of applause for Kolonji.
Thank you all for inviting me. My name is Kolonji. Good afternoon, everyone. I was you guys probably about 20 years ago. So I have a degree in accounting from Hampton University, which is in Hampton, Virginia. When I was in college, I did internships. So I worked at a Senate campaign, I worked at a record company, I worked in retail. So I know where you guys are. I know what you guys are looking for in terms of getting experience and gaining knowledge and getting kind of an understanding of what you want to do and how you want to do it. After I graduated from Hampton, I was fortunate enough, the company that I worked with was Sony Music. And because I knew the people there, had a great relationship from the internship the year before, so that's why I definitely strongly recommend you guys do internships as quickly as possible. I was able to call them up when I graduated and say, hey, I'm looking for a job, I just graduated, do you guys have anything? Loved me, brought me in. I did finance and admin for Sony Music for 2.5 years. It was, Mariah Carey and Jermaine Dupri and the Bratz, Fugees with Lauryn Hill, some group called Destiny's Child, so we did kind of all that. True story, there was another group called Allure, and when Destiny's Child came out, I did not care about this. I cannot tell you how much I did not care. So it goes to show you that as things change, things do change, but they became a big group years later, obviously. I realized I was going to reach a certain plateau when I was in Sony Music, so I decided to use that accounting degree that I got. And I went into internal audit reporting at a bank called Bankers Trust at the time. It's now called Deutsche Bank. And did that for about 2.5 years. The culture was definitely different than the culture at Sony Music. Sony was, you're going out and you're having a good time, you're coming in at 10 o'clock and you get some work done. Whereas with Bankers Trust, the culture was, okay, you're coming in and you're getting these reports done. If you have to stay until 11 o'clock, then that's what's going to happen. You're getting these reports done. So it's really formatting and sending those reports off to the executive committee and a number of other committees for the bank. And then in 1999, I got laid off. I got laid off because Bankers Trust got bought by Deutsche Bank. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Deutsche Bank now, but Deutsche Bank bought Bankers Trust. And there were, obviously both companies had internal audit departments. So you don't need, you don't need a duplication of responsibilities. So I got laid off there and tried to figure out, well, what do I do with my audit? I got laid off, but it's the first one I got laid off. I just got out of college a couple years ago. So I decided to become a financial advisor. So I went into the training program at Morgan Stanley, became a broker there for about 2.5 years, and was lucky enough to be part of the tech bubble, to be part of 9/11. So that changed the kind of the trajectory of my career, where I went to get out of New York City because I hadn't been in the city, but it also showed me how the economy can kind of change people's perceptions and people's feelings about investing and that whole thing. So if I'm looking for new investors and everyone is scared because a ton of people have lost money, that's kind of a problem. So I decided to go into something safe, where I transitioned to, at the time it was called First Union, then it became Wachovia, now you guys know it as Wells Fargo. So I did branch banking there. So the guy that when you walk into the bank, you open up a checking account, you're doing loans for small business, you're doing lines of credit for small business, you're looking at credit cards, you're looking at a number of other financial products you have in traditional banking. Worked there for another 2 years. Didn't like the culture. Didn't like the way they looked at clients, the way they treated employees, so I decided to get out. And I got out, moved to JP Morgan Chase. Loved it. Did that for 5.5 years, and then the mortgage crisis. So then I was part of that. Got laid off there, and all along from college, at Hampton, and where you guys are now, where I'm looking to get a degree in accounting, all through up until at that point, I've been thinking about eventually having my own business. And some of you guys have kind of already mentioned that you guys want to look at having your own business. So each one of those experiences, I was looking at, okay, what skills can I learn? What experiences can I have that I can kind of take and say, okay, I'm going to use this when I do go out on my own. And that's what I decided to do. So in 2009, when I did get laid off at JP Chase, I said, you know what, this is the time of my life. I'll take a step back. During this whole time, and this is something I recommend to you guys, from my first job, I was saving money. So I know that, you know, when you guys are going out, I met Mall at a New York City club, and it was a NABA event. You're going to go out, you're going to have a great time. You're going to want to spend money with your friends. You're going to buy drinks, you're going to buy food. But one of the things that you want to think about if you're thinking about eventually having your business is start saving money the second you start working. Because what will happen, when I got laid off at Bankers Trust, I was stressed, but I was not that stressed because during the whole time, I've been saving money. So you're not saying, okay, well, what am I going to do about rent? What am I going to do about food? So again, when you start working from the first job, you're gonna have a million and one bills. You're gonna have student loans, you're gonna have your living expenses, but definitely start setting aside. I don't care if it's $25, whatever it is. I don't care if it's $10, whatever it is, on a regular basis. Whenever you get your paycheck, you put that money to the side and you save that money. So I had done that. I had done that, like I said, with Bankers Trust. I'd done that with JP Morgan. When JP Morgan happened, that's when I was like, look, you know, at a certain point I'm going to want to go out on my own. This is the time to do that. And that's what I did. So since then, I've had a company called TaxAssurances. If you guys have a Twitter account, I have a Twitter page, a Twitter account for the business. But since then, I've been doing tax preparation, and that involves tax preparation for individuals. It involves it for small businesses. It involves also doing payroll for different companies, small businesses, as well as individuals, kind of helping them figure out what their tax liabilities are for the business that they're running. And then finally, doing a little bit of insurance, a little bit of investments. So that's kind of where, you know, my background to this point. But again, like I said, the big key to that is, you know, saving, but then also looking to continue to learn. Like, you know, just because you graduate, you get that diploma. There's, you know, like I said, I did not care about Destiny's Child. Life changes, and I say that to me, like, as things change, you want to be able to adjust to that. So you're always going to be learning, you're always going to be reading, you're always going to be talking with other people and networking and going to function. Again, the reason why I'm here today is a networking function that one of your fellow students went to. So always look to do that. I know sometimes you'll want to get into your comfort zone and feel like, you know, I'm comfortable here, but definitely still continue to learn, network, save, and do things like that, so that as you get older in your career, you're able to kind of adjust. Because, especially now, you'll see, you know, things do change. So yes, that's my presentation. So I'll let Nigel start with kind of the questions that you guys have.
So we had a couple questions prepared. The first one I think we want to ask is, what were your fears when you were starting your business?
It wouldn't work. And when you go out on your own, and there was something that I was scared to say. I'll say this now, but I was scared to say even at the beginning. But it's lonely. Entrepreneurship is very lonely, and it's one of those things where everything is on your shoulders. So you got to figure out, first and foremost, obviously you've got expenses, but how are you going to get new clients? And how are you going to market the business? Then you've got to service those clients. You've got to make sure that they're happy. You've got to make sure that, you know, you don't have them badmouthing you on Yelp or anything like that. Then you've got certain compliance issues depending on the type of business you go into that you have to worry about. If you go into the food business, I mean, I have a restaurant client where, you know, they got so much in terms of workers' comp and sales tax and any number of things they have to worry about. So that's a fear that I had. It's definitely still there. It's definitely still there for every business owner. But you have at a certain point you manage it. You just deal with it. Also, was it the best financial decision? Because when you start off a business, for the first 5 or 10 years, it's rough. And this is every business owner. Like, you'll see the stories about Uber, and you'll see the stories about Airbnb and all those other companies. Those guys, and especially since you guys are accounting students, look at the numbers for those guys. The reason why some of these companies, so it's Uber, Airbnb, are still going is because they're getting funding from venture capitalists. But when you look at the profitability that seems to be getting out, it's a little bit sketchy. So again, that was, managing your expenses, managing your day-to-day, taking care of clients was a big fear. And it's something that like I said, you should get used to. So,
Well, going into that, how has networking played a role in your success?
Well, again, like I said, that's why I met you. That's why I'm here today. But that does matter. It's great for getting an understanding of what's going on in your industry. But, a lot of times you're going to do your own research, and that's great, and still continue to do that. But sometimes you don't know what you don't know, meaning, getting information from other people that you might not have otherwise gotten because you just, again, didn't know to get that information. That's where networking comes in. It's definitely part of the revenue part of my business. It's not all of it, but it's definitely a part where it plays a role in